Hey guys, Lee here from PreSonus, and I'm here today at scan.co.uk with the guys to show the new PreSonus ATOM. So the PreSonus ATOM is our new studio production controller. It's also a really cool live performance controller. What we've tried to do with the ATOM is make it have a really responsive and expressive feel. So we've got 16 pads, and they are velocity sensitive. They're also got pressure sensitive pads as well. So you can, I'll show you later, you can trigger some different parameters in our synths and things like this from velocity aftertouch. So the ATOM works obviously really well with Studio One. You plug it in, everything's pre-assigned and ready to go. It's bus powered, so you don't need any power supply. So you can keep it in your backpack and just take it out, plug it in, and it's ready to go. But then also it works really well with third-party DAWs. So all of your, really well-known DAWs that you use already, ATOM will plug in, will show up. You'll have to do a little bit more manual assigning, but it will work really, really well and give you that same snappy, responsive feel for, again, production in the studio, or, a really cool tool for jamming live. Okay, so what I'm going to do is give you a quick overview of how to get around the ATOM. Again, I mentioned that we're trying to keep you away from using the mouse as much as possible. So with the ATOM, I'm able to set up a track with selecting my instrument, my preset on the instrument. I'm able to edit notes as well. I'm able to live record. I'm able to pattern record, so it kind of works like a step sequencer as well. I'm also able to do some quantizing and things like that as well. So on the right hand side, you'll see we've got this section called nav. So this has got up, down, left, right, and a select button. It also has a zoom button, so it allows you to zoom vertically or horizontally into your tracks. So this section for me works kind of like the mouse. So you're navigating through your presets, and also you're navigating through your notes when you're editing. Below that, you've got your transport. So in here we've got click, record, play, stop as usual, but we've also got secondary functions. So if we hit the shift button, I'm able to go in and hit count in, so that gives me a 4-beat count in. I've also got, on my record button, I've got a save. On my play button, I've got a loop, and then I've got undo on my stop button. So there's lots of secondary functions that you'll also find on the left-hand side. So on this section here, we can set up our song and open our editor and things. So again, top left here, we've got song, which has got setup, set loop. In my event section, I've got my editor. I've got a nudge button for nudging notes, but also when I hit shift, this becomes my quantize button. Below this, I've got my show hide for my instruments. I've got my presets button, so I can select this while my instrument is open, and I can flick through my various presets within that instrument. I've got my banks button as well. So when I press banks, it will open up 8 pads, which allows me to select one of 8 banks within my impact instrument, or whatever I assign in my other DAWs. So this is really cool if you're going to use the impact, for example, on one track, but you've got 8 banks to use. So maybe bank A could be for your loops, and bank B could be for vocal samples to play back, things like this. So you could run an entire track just off one instance of impact over these banks. So really easy to access from here. Below this, we've got full level, so that just leaves you at full level velocity for those people who just like to play with no change in velocities. Below that, we've got a really cool feature, which is note repeat. So I'll show you note repeat when we do some recording in a few minutes. So what I'm going to do is show you guys really quickly how to get started with ATOM. We're going to live record, step record, and then I'll show you some other features using synths as well. So the button I end up using most really is the setup button. Okay, so you'll see that when I click my browser button, the browser opens up on the screen. Now I've got my list of instruments and presets that I can select through. So I can use the encoder number 1 to select my presets, or I can use the up-down keys. So let me go to minimal techno. I'll hit select, which is again like my left click on my mouse. And that's my track set up with my instance of impact ready to go with my preset. I can also hold down this preset button here, and while the instrument is open, I can scroll through different presets while on screen. So let me hide that. So I've got a show hide button, and let me hit shift to turn on my count in, and then my click. So this will give me a 4-beat count in. Okay, so you'll hear I played that kind of to the click, a little bit loose. And what we can do is quickly go in, hit Shift and Quantize. And everything's now locked to the grid by pressing 2 keys. Okay, so what we can do now is we'll set up our loop. So our loop points, if I press set loop and move to the right and hit down, you can see it's picked my loop points. Hit Shift and play will turn on my loop. So we're ready to go to do some editing or record a new track. So I'll press the editor button. That opens my Midi Editor. And now what I can do is move left or right through my various notes. And then the note that I've selected, I can move up or down. And then I have the option then to change individual velocities from the pads actually on the Atom. We've also got the option to duplicate or delete notes from these pads when I've selected the editor button. Okay, so when I'm finished doing my editing, I hit Shift, Editor, and that closes down my editor. Again, I'll go back to my setup, press my browser, and I want to open a new track now. I can pick any instrument to put on this new track, but I'm going to pick the impact again. So I'll just pick the same setting I had because it's kind of quick to get. Okay, so last time we did some real-time recording. This time I want to do some pattern recording. So I will hide my instrument, hit setup, and when I've selected setup, number 5 is assigned to drop in a pattern. So you'll see the pattern appears on screen, and then I can duplicate that pattern. Okay, so if I hit editor now on that pattern track, you'll see that I've got this edit page on screen, and I've also got my keys on the Atom are working like a step sequencer as well. Okay, so what I can do is move down through my various notes on the Atom, and I can drop in, say, some kicks. I'll turn off my click. Then I can move down through my different sounds. So if we get into some claps maybe. So you get the idea. I can keep dropping in stuff, and I can hold down Shift and add some accents on notes as well in the pattern editor. So again, I haven't really touched my mouse at all yet. Again, hold down Shift and I can close my editor. So I spoke earlier about the note repeat function, which is pretty cool for live when you're not recording, but also you can drop in some quarter notes, 16ths, 30-second notes. So what I'll do is I'll just set up another track real quick with the same drum machine. And what happens here is when I hit a pad and trigger a sample, after that last sample, if I press note repeat, that's what we're using the note repeat on, is the last sample we triggered. So these are really cool for live performance, as I said, and recording, and they're also velocity sensitive, so they're quite expressive as well, so that's pretty cool. And next thing I want to show you is, obviously this works really well as a drum controller, but it also really is really intuitive and feels good for synthesizers. So if I hit setup and I go to my browser and select maybe a Midi. So you'll see that my white keys are yellow on the Atom, and my blue keys are my black keys. So again, velocity sensitive and also pressure sensitive. Okay, so we can also assign pressure to some of our parameters as well, as I described before. So if I hit setup and select key number 6, that allows me to assign pressure to any parameter just by right clicking and assigning pressure to this parameter. And what that means is, as I'm playing, I've got my normal functions, but in this case I've assigned my pressure to my cutoff. So you'll see Works really cool, and it works polyphonic as well. So it's really cool again for live expression, but also recording. So you're not just getting that cold, you know, single velocity hit. You're actually getting some human feel into the playing of the pad. Okay, so also we have, you've noticed 4 knobs at the top of the Atom here. So these knobs are pre-assigned when you use with Studio One, but again, it's super easy just to select any of these knobs, and when you turn it and then right click, it will allow you to assign the last touch you had to whatever parameter you've selected on the screen. So again, if you're using a third-party DAW, these are all manually assignable, and also manually assignable in Studio One. Okay, so that's pretty much a good overview of the Atom and how to get you guys up and running really fast for recording and performing live. Again, the Atom is bus powered, it's pretty small, so I carry it everywhere in my backpack, but also can live in your studio. And also you can use multiple Atoms. So again, for, you know, live gig, maybe you could have lots of beats on one Atom, lots of different samples playing back, and maybe even just a live keyboard being played back off one of the Atoms. So there's lots of different things you can do with this. The Atom also comes free with Studio One Artist. So you get the hardware, but you also get the software. So it's pretty much one total package ready to go. And benefits of using it this way is that when you start, you know, doing some productions or creating some beats and stuff like that, you don't have to then take that and bring that into a DAW afterwards. You're already working in the DAW, so your tracks are set up. Now when you're finished this style of production, you can move on to audio, so maybe some vocals or some guitars overlaid in the session already. Yeah, so that's it for the Atom. If you want to see more videos, there's lots online, so check out PreSonus.com. And we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.